Good morning, my YouTube family. My face is going to break. I am so excited for this. I'm calling it a class, even though it's a whip and chat, but it's different. I hope you have your work. I hope you got a good night's rest too. It's daylight savings time, so you got an extra hour. And welcome if you're new, and welcome back if you're back. You know, I love having you here. So I am very excited for this new way of finding relaxation and finding really the benefits of meditation. We all know that diamond painting is a meditative art, and I've always been attracted to meditative arts. I find it very easy to meditate, maybe from my own practice as a yoga teacher and training. I enjoy meditation, but I know, especially for type A personalities, if you're that personality where you just can't seem to sit still and you have the jitterbugs and you every time you go to close your eyes and meditate, you're kind of like, you see the pink elephant in the room, right? So, but also when you're working on something that you really enjoy, your mind just kind of switches off and you're just in the zone. And I think that is the formula with diamond painting. The work has been done for us, and the palette has been picked, and we really don't have to do, I don't want to say that it's a mindless activity, because I don't believe that, and I've heard I don't know who's running this advertisement that, it's pick, stick, and glue. It's not. You do have some decisions that you make. And, but I do think that it is a calming activity, and it's so good for anxiety. And just like Zentangle is a meditative art, it also can be where it calms your anxiety, it lowers your blood pressure. I mean, I'm not making that claim, but I'm sure that when you are breathing more steadily and you're relaxing into your artwork or whatever it is that you're doing, you can bring any kind of craft that you want to this class, air quotes, if you're listening to this as a podcast. But for the sake of this filming, I'm going to be referring to diamond painting. And you've carved this time out for yourself. You've put yourself on the list. You got in your seat. You've already won. You've already done the self-care to take care of yourself and say, like, I need this time. And bravo that you recognize that you need your time to fill your cup. I don't know any other way of saying it. Imagine you invited your girlfriends over for coffee and you took the coffee pot off the stove and you poured and nothing came out, right? You can't be there for the ones that you love. You can't show up for yourself if you don't have the energy to do it. So you're here and you're doing it. And I would love to impart to you, I hope that I can, some tips and tricks to make your experience diamond painting even that much more, right? So I will tell you how I set up for my diamond painting when I need that little extra. I come to my seat, and if you're looking to create balance in your life, begin there. Start where you are. Are you comfortable? Are you comfortable in your chair? Think about that right now. Are you comfortable? Can you be more comfortable? Please be more comfortable. Like my husband would say, I want everything I got coming to me. You got a blanket? You got an extra pillow? Bring it. I will tell you, I have behind my chair here a yoga blanket. Not because I'm a yoga teacher, but because I love these. And here's why. They are cool in the summer. They keep you cool. I bring them on the beach. They're easy. They are warm in the winter, but most importantly, you can fold them and they hold their shape, and they're so good for building your throne. And by your throne, I mean your chair where you're sitting. By all means, please be comfortable. Another thing that I have at my desk is my water. A lot of water. And another thing I have is maybe something that I want to nibble on, and I don't mean crunchy things, maybe a hard candy. I have my coffee station, as most of you know, if you've been with me, right there. And there's like cookies. I always have cookies, a little snack. Just something that gets me up out of my chair and stretch and readjust and breathe. And I also light a little incense. You might want to light a candle. I put relaxing music on. I have YouTube on right now. I just put in yoga music, and it's just background music that just, maybe it reminds me of my practice, that settles me. Maybe you want to listen to jazz or something like that. So you can create the world that you want to work in. Make sure that you have everything that you need so you don't have to keep getting up and down, and be comfortable. And what else can I say about that? Yeah, have everything that you want and everything that you need. And I also like to prep myself that I'm ready when I usually do that the night before. The night before, I clear my desk and I take out my old wax and my old putty, and I gear them up for the next day. So I just don't have to worry about that. But of course, today I didn't do that. Today I sat down and I was like, I'm really not liking this. I put like museum putty in my, where'd they go? Did I put them away? In my, here I am talking about making sure you have yourself ready. Now this is a good example of having everything you need in front of you. I did have, I know what I did, family. I did the kit up for Bud here, and I got everything out of the way that I didn't need, and I put it on the other side of the room. Be right back. And she's back. Okay, so I took my putty out of my new square placers that I got from Diamond Art Club. Now I know the rule, or at least I was told, when I spoke to someone that I was buying stuff from, and I was like, I'm having such a hard time with the placers. And she was like, well, you're putting wax in your placers, and wax is for the single tip and putty is for the placer. And I thought, oh, okay. I never had any luck with putty. I just don't. It gets, no matter how much little I put in there, it gets along the side, and I'm picking up drills that I don't need. And I think that you just have to follow, for the longest time it was like, no, putty goes in here, putty goes in here, putty goes in here. And I wouldn't take the putty out. Well, I'm freeing myself from that rule that I put putty in here. I enjoy having wax in here, and that's what I'm going to be using on both sides. But I think actually I may have taken the putty out, and now I think I'm going to have a problem. That's why I didn't put the wax in. If you don't clean these really well, the residue from the putty repels the wax and it starts pulling it out. So that's why I did that. And I don't mind my pens that come with my kit. I actually enjoy them. And another thing, when I watch shorts of those people that do like ASMR, and they're just putting drills on a little square, cutting their canvas, they use those pens and they have wax in the placer. Okay, so if you're seeing like a little smoke coming towards me, I have my incense. Can you see it? My incense is burning right there, and I love it, and it makes me feel calm, and it makes me feel like relaxed, and my music makes me feel relaxed, and I create that space for myself. The next thing that I would really like to give you an exercise to do is take a look at your canvas. And I learned this from Maria Thomas and Rick Roberts when I was training for Zentangle. They had a process of taking out what they were using and really appreciating the tools that they had to work with, which was minimal. You know, they had like their little cotton paper squares, but it was lovely. And they had their archival pens. I think I had one out here. Now it's gone again, but and you know, to just really appreciate what it is that you're working on and the tools that you have and your color palette and your drills. And you know, I did that when I kitted up. I was just amazed at this color palette. I did it for the kit up. I'll do it for you guys. Looking at this color palette, I had flashbacks of when I was in Costa Rica and, you know, walking along a hiking trail and all the exotic flowers and colors, these rich chocolate browns and deep browns and copper browns and purples and greens. Two of these colors are ABs. This is actually 19 colors with 2 ABs. One is a white and one is like an avocado green for the eyes. And they're just lovely, these dusty roses. And there's actually a color in here that I have never worked with before, and it's an old antique gold, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited to try this color. The other thing that I learned, and I learned this through when I was doing summer with the masters. So funny. Maybe I'll put a picture down below. And by all means, I'm talking, please, you know, continue on with your, whatever it is that you're doing. I know that I didn't start yet, but when I was doing summer with the masters, I chose Van Gogh's Irises. And it was a pretty big painting. And I started being a new diamond painter in the lower left-hand corner, and I worked my way across, and then I came up, and then I worked my way back to the right, and came up and worked my way over to the left. I don't even know how many rows it is. I'll actually put it when I put the picture down below. And I got really fascinated with this painting as it started, again, to just unfold itself before me, just like I say it all the time, like a beautiful song. And I started to read about this painting and where Van Gogh painted it and why the irises, and each one was different. And I started to look up his works. And when I looked at that painting and how each petal, each brush stroke, of course, was different. You can't duplicate a brush stroke. And the article started to talk about the fact that he was institutionalized when he did that painting, and he painted when he was allowed to go outside, but that in the field of the irises, he left one iris white. And I was like, what? Like, I didn't see a white iris on this painting. And I stopped what I was doing, took out my painting, looked at the picture, and all the last block, it was the upper left-hand corner, was a white iris. And I was amazed that I did not see it. I didn't notice it when I bought the painting. I got the painting at Michael's. It was on sale. It was a $75 painting, and I got it for $20, and I had a coupon too. And that's what propelled me to do Summer with the Masters, even though I didn't feel that I was quite ready to do it. But I love a challenge. I meet it, and I had a lot of fun with it. But I caused myself so much anxiety by being here on the canvas. I was still in the 1/3 portion of the canvas, and that white iris was the last block. And it's the reason why too now I don't use release paper. I like to see my canvas. And so, not that that was the reason why, but it made me realize that I really did not take into account what I was working on. I really didn't look at the canvas fully and take it in and like, well, what is this, a mistake? Why is this iris white here in the corner? And I vowed from that point on that I would sit with my paintings first and sit with the colors and really take in the artwork. I think I stated in the Kidding Up that when I did the graphic for Bud, I took a photo and I blew the picture up and I got rid of the background. So I just wanted his face in the graphic, and maybe you noticed it too. But when the portrait was blown up, there's a section right here that kind of looks like a bird, and this kind of looks like his eye on both sides. And I went back to the description and said, was looking for something to read, like, was that there? Are there elements that make up this face? Because I think I stated once before, and for those of you that are new, when I lived in Florida, I used to go to the Ringling Museum a lot in Sarasota, Florida. And there was a gallery nearby, and there was this painting that I was so attracted to. It was these bright pink, flamingo pinks. And flamingo is one of my favorite species walking this earth. And I kept looking at it, and the gentleman said, you really love that painting? And I'm like, I really, really love this painting. But what is it? And he said, well, go stand back. Oh, so many lessons just there. But I stood back and I still couldn't focus. And he's like, just relax your eye. I'm like, oh my God, is this one of these magic paintings? I can't. I can't. And he's like, no, just look at it. Just look at the center. And the center was black. And then there was all these hot pinks, flamingo pinks and creamy whites. And I got it. It was the eye of the flamingo. And I just, oh my goodness, I wanted that painting so badly. But I had moved to Florida because I had opened up a restaurant, and there was no extra coin yet, because as those in the restaurant business know, you don't get paid until like maybe 2 years later. Oh, but I every time I think of that painting, I've looked for it, and I've looked for the artist, and I can't find it. I would love to own that painting now. But looking at Bud and seeing this element here, I kind of thought, well, is this made up of elements? I don't know. And it does kind of unsettle me too. I think I blew this painting up so much, and I cut away the background so that you just saw his face. It is a little unsettling being that big. Sometimes shapes, I don't know about you guys, cause me a little bit of anxiety, and so it's actually, I love the graphic, but sometimes it's hard for me to look at, because sometimes when shapes are like very perfect and grouped together, it could be disorienting for me. I don't know what that's all about. I don't care. I just notice it, and I guess it's I kind of look at everything as a kind of cool thing. So in getting back to what it is I learned from really taking a moment or two to sit with the things that I'm carving my time out for, and really appreciating the tools that I have, and the fact that I have a licensed piece of artwork. Not everyone can, and it's a double-edged sword. It really is. When there's artwork out there that's not licensed. And I try, like I said, I always try and look at things on a brighter side, but I'm not talking about like this being reproduced and being sold and having Diamond Art Club undercut. I have had my photography stolen when I was living in New York. I take pictures. I have like 40,000 pictures on my phone, and I took pictures of my 2 Yorkies. And maybe if I could find it, I'll put that down below. I have to make myself notes of all these things that I'm saying I'm going to put down below. But I took an adorable picture of them on the promenade, and across from them was Statue of Liberty. It's not in view, but it is the most adorable photo of the 2 of them. And I was walking in Manhattan, and I saw them on a brochure outside of a pet store. And, my work was lifted, and it was very upsetting. And, I'm going back, like, when was I in New York? 2009. And, I don't know, I wasn't even aware of what kind of recourse I would have had for my work being lifted, but I was extremely upset. And I had gotten my dog's, grooming there too. So, I just, talked to the owner and said, how much I just didn't appreciate the fact that he had done something like that. So I totally understand, but I'm getting kind of off track with having, I just appreciate the fact that I can get myself a piece of licensed artwork to work on, but I know not everyone can, and I'm not going to stand in judgment of that, even though I don't think that it's right that you have companies that are doing this. But I take up my part where I don't buy things from Temu, and I'm very uncomfortable with that. Even though that's how I got introduced to diamond painting, I'm very uncomfortable with it not being licensed artwork, with it being sold so cheap. There's just so many things in the background of things coming out from that country, and we all know what the policies are, and factory workers and stuff like that, and I just don't. So that's how I take my stand there. So we talked about setting up our desk and having things around us that make us feel good and make us feel comfortable. I like having incense. I like having the music on in the background. I like to sometimes read something before I do my work and just get myself in that frame of mind of gratitude and grateful that I have the time to do this. Some of you had to negotiate, I'm sure, things around to be here, or whatever it is that you want to do to fill your cup, whether it's taking a bath or taking a walk, or painting, or reading a book, or meeting friends. So I do appreciate your time being here with me and tuning in. The other thing that I do when I look at my artwork, and I learned this from Summer with the Masters and the Van Gogh portrait, is that this was a new craft for me, and as I was learning, I was being courageous enough to move intuitively. Not so much that I was able to take the putty out of my placer, but where I want to begin. Not give myself this anxiety about getting to this part, or I'm saving this for last. Now, some people do that, and that's what motivates them, and that's great. But for me, it makes me anxious because I'm so eager and I'm so morally ambitious, and it just scratches at my brain to get to that part. So when I got the Winter Fox, and she was my first Diamond Art Club painting, and I did an unboxing, and I think she's probably one of my most watched videos. I was in awe of the canvas, of the beauty of the painting, of the palette. I just lost my mind. I think I was singing to myself. I was dancing around the living room. It was a scene. And I knew in that moment, I was a little anxious too. I knew in that moment that I was going to do her first. I was going to do the foxes. I was going to just give myself the pleasure of creating the focal point of that canvas first. And everything else is all the little elements. It's all the little cherries on the top. It's all the little fringy things that you put on, like you put on a great dress or a great outfit. the background of that painting is just the accessories. And I enjoy every bit of it because I get to look at her and look at her beautiful form with her flowy red hair and those beautiful foxes. Oh, and so when I sit down now and I come to a painting, I think about, where do I want to begin when I look at it? What is calling to me? Now, I did this yesterday with lilac. And with lilac, I wanted to start with those beautiful lilac purple eyes and those long lashes. But when I looked at crimson, which is the sister portrait to that, same company, Dreamer Design, same artist, Curtis Rekovich, I was drawn into her hair and that hat on her head with the little poinsettia. And I was like, that's where I'm starting this. I'm surprised I'm not going for the eyes, but I just want to do that big poof on her hair and that beautiful hat. That's where I'm going to begin that. I will tell you that Bud here has got me really perplexed about where I want to start. And I would think that I would want to start with his eyes, but like I said, it's that cute little nose, that little mouth that are calling me. But yet again, now I'm looking at the portrait facing me now, and I'm seeing this bird shape in here, and I'm so curious about this bird shape, that, cute little button nose and mouth, or the bird. Oh, and it's so funny because my guy, I have a tabby, loves birds. Loves them. He jumps in my kitchen window and he calls to them. And his previous owners had a friend that had a parakeet, and he would bring the parakeet over and the two of them would play together. And it just breaks my heart because I can't, I'm in the city. He was raised in the country. He was raised in a more suburban area, so I have cars and stuff. I would never let him outside. Doesn't want to wear his harness. He's as fierce as this cat. He's big, and he's got them claws. Even when they're cut down, he's a handful. He's like 22 pounds. I put him on the scale. I held him. He's 22 pounds. I could barely pick him up. And so I know that he wants to go outside, and he wants to be able to. It's so lovely the way that he looks out the window and he watches them fly, and his head tilts up and he looks at them. It's so wonderful. So am I going to be sentimental about getting this section here that to me looks like a bird, or am I going to start with the little button nose here? I don't know. And I think not knowing is okay. And, the way that this is unfolding, this first class, it kind of reminds me of when I teach, where I just sit in the I'm background noise for my students. They're doing their thing, and I'm just like bop, 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 talking. That I'm actually enjoying just, being a kind of background noise for you guys. And maybe what I'll do is I'll read for you what I read this morning. I want you to be able to take something with you when you begin your week, especially, daylight savings time. My husband's already cringing because he's a postman and he gets up at 5 a.m. and he's parcel delivery, so he drives like a 4-ton truck. Just picture Kramer driving the fire engine. That's my hubby. Everybody knows him. He's hanging out the truck. He's waving hello to everybody. He's just a bundle of joy. And so daylight savings is causing him some anxiety. And I've noticed, even before I started wanting to do this, is that on a Sunday, he really does try his best. He really does try to be positive, and he can change the situation very quickly, whereas I kind of get stuck and I dig my heels in. But he's starting to have that Sunday anxiety about, I gotta go back to work tomorrow, because Sunday is always his day off, but mainly he works 6 days a week. And just that one day, to have it be have Monday encroach upon Sunday when he has so little time off. He does sometimes get 2 days off in a row, but I noticed that he's getting that Sunday anxiety about, oh, tomorrow's Monday, and I got to go back in. And he's in an environment that's loud, and there's a lot of guys on the dock, and they're loading mail, and who's sorting mail, and he'll walk around with his iPods on. Or is that what they're called? I get so confused with these things, these I this and I that. Yeah, I think, is that what they're called? It sounds weird because we had iPods. I don't know what they're called. Anyway, he sticks them in his ears. It's not the point. But he's trying to bring some calm into the area that he's working in, and he does the best that he can. But when you're doing everything that you need to do for 3-4 hours on a loading dock, and it's just loud, and it's like, I went there one day to pick up something when he got hurt, to pick up his papers for him, and I will tell you, I was like, I don't know how he does it. So I was reading this morning I actually read from an old book that I had, and it was called Meditations from the Mat, and that's by Rolf Gates. And I always like this one reflection that he has about the gull that flies through the center of the storm. And because that's where the peace is, but you don't live there. The seagull doesn't live in the center of the storm, but he flies through it when the storm is coming, because he knows that's where it's calm. But there is also the other side of it, that you have to fly through the storm to get to the center. So how do we get back to our natural state? That is our natural state. Our center is our natural state. It's everything on the outside has nothing to do with us. It's just circling around us. Our true self is what is inside of us. So how do we get back to centering ourselves and being able to come back to that place that makes us feel calm and makes us feel relaxed? And I believe that doing stuff like this is a way of remembering, because I also think that we do a lot of forgetting. We forget. We go outside of ourselves searching for things, when, I know it sounds corny, everything you have is right inside of you. No one can disrupt your peace unless you open the door and allow them to. And, I had a major upset in my life during the pandemic. I was a business owner. I was married to someone else. I was teaching yoga. My father was dying, and I had to put my life in order where my dad was the priority. And so I had to let go of the yoga studio, which was very difficult, because I knew that people had depended on me and they came to my classes and they enjoyed them. But priority was my dad, and I knew he wasn't going to be here. And I knew pretty soon that book was going to be closed. And the other priority was that I had to be honest with myself that I was in a marriage just to be in the marriage, because that's what you did. You got married and you took your vows, and you were faithful and you were loyal, and you in good times and bad. But the majority of my days were very difficult, and they were very bad, and I didn't have emotional support or mental support or any support from my partner. And I went to visit my dad, and he was in his chair, and he always smiled when I walked in the room. And he wasn't sick. I knew he was dying. I knew he was dying because he had congestive heart failure, and it was getting harder for him when he would be sitting too long to get back up. So I knew that his lungs were not really, he had stage 4 cancer that he beat, but he lost a lung, and he was a warrior. I never saw it coming, because my dad, I never really saw my dad until he was sick. And I saw the warrior that he was. And so I went to go visit him, and I had thought that my ex-husband had left. And we had just had on the ride up, we had an argument, let's just leave it at that. And I was stressed, and I thought he had left, and I pulled up a chair next to my dad, and my dad's here and I'm here. And there's a little bit of space between us. And all of a sudden, I'm trying to put my best face on. I see somebody come walking in between me. And again, I thought he had left, and I got startled and I screamed. And he just kind of walked out of the room, left with like this smile on his face, like that he had upset me, and walked away. And my dad looked at me and he said, "Elisa, why are you so sad every time I see you?" And I looked at him, and honestly, it was the first time I was honest with anyone. I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of good friends, close friends, and none of them knew that I was having this kind of problem. And I said, "Dad, because I am." And he said, "Elisa, don't spend another moment being sad. This is your life. What are you going to do?" And it jolted me, because my dad always said those things to me. No matter what I did, I could complete this in a day, and I'd be like, "Dad, look at what I made." He'd be like, "Okay, what are you going to do now?" What's your next thing that you're going to do, Elisa? Don't stop. Just keep going forward. And that is something that I learned from my dad. Not to look over my shoulder, not to look at what anybody else is doing. Because if I'm looking behind me, I'm not looking ahead of me. I can't do both. And I can't get to where I'm going and where I want to go. And I love my teachers in this community. I follow a lot of channels, people that have been here longer than I have been here, and they taught me a lot of things, and I appreciate the knowledge that they shared. But I think I kind of got in my head where, well, they're the expert and they know what they're doing, and I got to do things the way that they do them. And I just, when I finally put it together that, I had to be more authentic for me, and for those of you out there that are looking for something like this. It's something that I learned from my yoga teaching too. And I hope all these things that I'm telling you that I learned kind of like, you kind of go, "Oh, wow, yeah, like either like that's what I've been thinking about doing, or, I want to try that for myself and see if it works." But, that's what I learned from my yoga practice, was that I couldn't teach the way my mentors taught me. I had to be myself. But I was so worried that, the students that are here already, they're not going to like me if I don't do this and I don't do that. Your people will find you. You will find people that gravitate towards you. Because if you're just trying to make people happy, you're not being yourself. And they never get, and not only do you wear this mask, but they don't get to see who you are, who your true person is. And nothing made me happier than when I was teaching and a student would walk up to me and say, "What you said, it really resonated with me." And maybe they would share something of their life with me, and that just, always touched me when anybody wants to share a part of their life with someone that they only know is like maybe their yoga teacher, but they feel confident and courageous enough to say that they know that I will hold the space for them and keep their confidence. But it made me happy, not just that, but because I knew that I was being authentic. I knew that I was being myself, and it allowed them to drop their mask. And because you get done with class and it's like, how's everybody doing, how you feeling? I just love when my students get up, or like I love when they fall asleep, when they're so relaxed in class that they fall asleep, and I have to gently nudge them and be like, did you bring your pajamas with you? Because I'm blocking up the studio, and either you're coming with me or you're staying. But I teach vinyasa yoga, I teach restorative yoga, I teach yin yoga, and those slower paced classes like yin and like restorative really relax the body and the mind and the nervous system. And I would love when they would just fall asleep. And most of the time my students loved my stories that I would tell about my grandmother. They loved them. And so this morning I started my reading because I am a student of the Artist Way. Julia Cameron wrote a book 20 plus years ago about reclaiming your creativity, and it was based on her 12-step program. When I was living in New York, I was lucky enough that the New York Open Center, where they would have artists come in and talk, was Julia Cameron. And I didn't care if I had to close the restaurant, I was going to be there. And I got there and I sat in front of her and I looked at her like she was an angel that came down from heaven. The principles and the practices in that book are so nurturing and comforting to your soul. I would highly recommend anyone that wants to start the Artist Way, especially with the new year in the background. A wonderful time to start the Artist Way. I start it every year. I do it, and because every year there's something new to learn about myself and learn about my creativity. If it's something that you would want to see me do here, I would love to do this here. Or maybe it's something that you want to see. I have Elisa Maria Designs, my Facebook page. We can absolutely do that there also. Oh, I think it's a wonderful program for any creative. And I don't care if you're a housewife or you're a Picasso, it's for everyone. So I think while you continue to work on whatever it is that you're working on, I'll turn Bud towards you again. I think I'm going to read to you what I read this morning from Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo. Hopefully I bookmarked it. It was called The Ordinary Art. And these are just daily reflections. There's 365, again, with the New Year looming. I have to say, January 1st and December 31st are two of my favorite readings in this book. They make me cry every single time because they're so raw and so true. He's another one. He has the gift of writing, and you could feel his finger touch your heart and your mind and your soul. But he had this reflection. He went to visit. Well, there's a little paragraph before it says, before fixing what you're looking at, check what you're looking through. So he goes on to say that it was a beautiful sun-filled day, and he had driven 300 miles to see her. She was 94 and had been in one room for close to 8 months. I was her firstborn grandson, and she was so happy to see me. But after catching up, we sat in silence on the edge of her bed, and finally, she complained how gray a day it was. I realized then that her one window had not been cleaned in almost a year. When I said this, she chuckled, as only someone 94 can, and uttered with her Russian accent, "Got a dirty eye? See a dirty world." It's the same with our minds and our hearts. For every self is the one window we have into this life. And so often we suffer the mood of a dirty window, believing the brilliant world gray. And that's why I turned my music on, and that is why I keep the TV off, and that's why I don't turn on the news. I create my world. Perhaps the purpose of authentic relationship is to help each other keep our minds and hearts clear. Perhaps inner work is the ordinary art of window washing, so that the day is fully the day. Oh, so beautiful. And each day has a page of reflection like that. And then he has these little notes on the bottom of, if this is a reflection that resonates with you, to sit quietly until you feel centered, and then to use your breath to wash the ideas from your mind. Simply breathing in and breathing out. Maybe this is where you put your pen down and take a break, close your eyes, take a breath in through your nose, and exhale gently out through your mouth. Maybe you do perch your lips and blow gently through your mouth, or maybe it's more of a but continue to breathe. Keep your breath even, your inhale and your exhale. And see if you can wash away what may be lingering on your heart, if there's something that you're looking through a dirty window with. And maybe as you breathe, you can wash the conclusions through your eyes. Clean the window. I am so happy, my friends. I can't think of a better way to spend my Saturday morning taping this for you. I didn't want to do it live because I didn't want to be distracted looking at questions or having to type answers. I wanted to be able to join you in the diamond painting, but it didn't work out that way. And I'm kind of a go with the flow kind of check. I move authentically. I wasn't planning on me just sitting here and talking for almost an hour. Hopefully your eyes are still closed and you're breathing, but if they're not, you can blink them open. Take some time to stretch your hands. You can interlace your fingers and stretch your hands back away from you. Maybe open and close the fingers, or even at the side of your desk, if you put your fingers up along the side of your desk and bend your fingers back. This is so good for your wrist. Carpal tunnel is when the veins that are, if you look at your wrist, let's do it this way. If you put your fingers around your wrist, like my fingers are barely touching, but all my veins and arteries are going through this little hole. And when they get agitated and they swell, they're pushing up against your wrist. So take some time to stretch your hands. Move your thumb away and then do the other hand. And your thumb. Roll your neck, right? Take a breath in. I love this one for when I get, we're women and we tend to carry all our tension in our shoulders. But even diamond painting, when you're looking down and you're diamond painting, I know some diamond painters look up, and God bless you. I couldn't diamond paint. Do you? Is it? Am I looking through a dirty window? I'm making a conclusion that you diamond paint just one at a time. I think I would drop them, on my way up. But if you're looking down and you're diamond painting, you get that kind of like, we turn in, we roll our shoulders in. Just take another breath and roll your shoulders back. But I love this one for the back of my neck. I take my two fingers and I press into my chin. and the back of my neck flattens out. Another thing that I noticed that I do, maybe you do too, and this is me, and this will be your cue for during the week too, right? Breathing. And I don't mean just breathing. I mean like the breath work that we just did here. Just simple breathing. Breathing in, breathing out. I realize that I hold my breath when I'm diamond painting. I'm so eager and into it that I'm holding my breath. And maybe you do that when you're working, or you're working on something that's stressful, or maybe I'm doing it when I'm relaxed. But also, clenching your hand. And not only am I not breathing, I'm biting down on my jaw. What is that about? I love what I'm doing. I'm so ambitious and I'm so eager. And so when I catch myself doing that, I'm like, oh no, pen down, roll the shoulders, do some head rolls, press my chin in, take a breath, get up from the chair, take a walk, get some water, drink some water, rest your eyes, sit down. If you have that beautiful music on that you set for yourself, and you have that lovely candle that maybe you're burning in the background, close your eyes, lean back in your chair, take a break. Maybe go get a little snack, a cookie, a cookie, or yeah, I think I'm gonna get a cookie and make myself an espresso. But I so enjoyed this class. Please, if you made it this far, please leave me a little something. Like, I don't know, anything you want. I don't care. Anything you want. I love you, and I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday, and I hope you appreciate the hour rest I hope that you got when you turn the clocks back. But if you're a brat like me, you're like, oh, I got 1 extra hour. What am I going to do with it? I got to make it worth something. I'm telling you, I'm going to keep my promise. I'm going to get in bed an hour earlier. And I'll see you guys on Monday. Take care, you guys. I love spending this time with you. My face is going to break now. Bye. And don't forget, guys, create the world you want to live in. You had a little exercise this morning, creating your desk and the world that you want to work in. Create the world you want to live in. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing it for me, and I'm doing it for you. Bye.